Thanks so much for joining us this Saturday evening. I'm Mark Salinger. We start with breaking news this evening in northern Colorado. 2 people are dead and another is injured after a plane crash in Larimer County. It happened near Storm Mountain. That's where we find 9 News reporter Colton Chavez joining us this evening. And you're talking to emergency crews right now. And Colton, the plane is part of the Civil Air Patrol.
That's right, and the Civil Air Patrol tells us that this crash happened during a search and rescue exercise. As for what caused that plane to go down, well, that's still under investigation. But what we do know right now is I was speaking with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office, and they tell me that the plane went down shortly after 11 o'clock this morning. Now, the Civil Air Patrol says the plane is a Cessna 182, but at this time, I am being told they are not releasing the names of any of the 3 passengers until next of kin is notified. Now, a spokesperson for the Sheriff's Office says the area where the plane crashed can be a very dangerous for people to respond to. They say several nearby agencies responded to the plane crash, including the National Guard. As of right now, Larimer County Sheriff says that plane has not been removed.
Recovery will likely last the next few days just because of where the location is. It really is in steep and just really difficult terrain to get people out there and get those groups out there to assist with that. Due to that, it will take several days in order to work through that investigation and have those parties returned home.
Now, as you just heard, you can see it's starting to get dark all around us. So the Larimer County Sheriff's Office says that's another piece to the puzzle that's going to help make this entire situation go a little bit longer, and that's why they expect it to take several days. Now, the Larimer County Sheriff's Office also tells me that they have investigated and responded to plane crashes in the past, and they will be that lead investigation to find out what made that plane go down. And of course, you can trust 9 News to bring you all of those latest updates. But for now, live in Larimer County, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
Yeah, and we've seen from Sky 9 the images from above from our helicopter showing the mangled wreckage, especially in that burn scar terrain in Larimer County. Some difficult terrain to rescue people and to get everything out. Colton Chavez, thank you. A semi-truck crash in Denver. It crashed through a fence last night and ended up just feet from a home in the Sunnyside neighborhood, startling everybody nearby, but it didn't necessarily surprise them. It's happened before, and it's a problem that neighbors say they've been asking CDOT to try and fix for over a decade. 9 News reporter Ria Jha is joining us live in the neighborhood this evening. And Ria, CDOT now has an exact timeline for when these fixes will happen.
Yeah, they do. And we were speaking to neighbors here. They said that they've been asking CDOT to fix this wooden fence for years through emails that they've sent them. And it was initially because of the noise from the crashes and the commotion from that highway, but then those started creating holes like those.
So there's obviously accidents happening along this stretch quite frequently.
Another hole in the fence.
Yeah, now we have a big hole.
A semi-truck crashed through the guardrail and into the Sunnyside neighborhood Friday night, leaving 3 people hospitalized. People who've lived here for some time, like Natasha Bueller
4 years.
and David Hughes,
30 years.
say this crash wasn't a question of if, but when.
A sound barrier wall definitely would have stopped it.
For more than a decade, this community has been urging CDOT to put in a more protective barrier between them and one of Colorado's busiest highways.
There's a guardrail and this wooden dilapidated fence.
Dilapidated. It's a word that's defined this fence since August 2013, when a neighbor first emailed CDOT to replace it.
To feel safer, because this isn't the first time a car has come through the fence.
One of these holes is from 2019, when a car came crashing through in the same area.
Either accidents happening, or I feel like the fence is so old that it's kind of just falling apart on its own.
Neighbors have reached out to city officials, district and state representatives on top of filing reports with CDOT. This year, CDOT began installing a new guardrail and noise wall along several parts of I-70 to increase safety. The project hasn't gotten here yet.
They've done the other side on the north side of the highway, and they are proposed to do this side also. It might be almost maybe 6 more months.
This section will be installed in March of next year. Until then, neighbors are just hoping for no more holes.
It should have already been done.
We've asked for crash data from this section of I-70, but CDOT hasn't gotten back to us. What we know from Friday's crash is those 3 people are still in the hospital, but their condition is something that we still don't know yet. Denver police is investigating the cause of this crash. Reporting live in Denver, Ria Cha, 9 News.
Yeah, far too many crashes involving big rigs, especially just how close that one got to that house. Ria Cha, thank you. Moving to another crash, unfortunately, Highway 285 through Conifer continues to live up to its dangerous reputation. A woman was killed last night after a crash with an Xcel Energy truck. According to CSP, the woman was driving southbound on the highway when she crossed into the northbound lanes. Troopers say she crashed head-on into the truck. There were 2 young passengers in the truck with her. They were treated for minor injuries. The Xcel truck driver was also treated for minor injuries as well. Meanwhile, in Aurora, police say a man is now facing charges for causing a deadly crash this morning. Happened at the intersection of Tower Road and 40th Avenue. Aurora police say a black Jeep was speeding on Tower Road when it crashed with a Chevy Cobalt, causing the Jeep to roll over. Both drivers were taken to the hospital, where the driver of the Cobalt unfortunately died. After being released from the hospital, the driver of the Jeep will be taken to jail on a separate outstanding warrant and charges related to the crash. Moving to the weather right now. Taking a look outside, what a beautiful evening. This is a live look over Denver. We saw some beautiful temperatures out there, mild weather as people get ready for the Thanksgiving holiday. Want to get right over to 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen joining us this evening. And Corey, it was just one of those days that you want to get outside. Felt like spring.
Man, I really thought it was April a couple of times when I was rolling around out there. Amazingly warm temperatures ahead of our next cool down, you would call it. But 71 degrees was the official high temperature in Denver today. That is 21 degrees warmer than average and just 2 degrees away from tying the all-time record set back in 1915. Here we see the satellite and radar picture. The clouds starting to increase, the winds starting to increase ahead of our next storm system. This is actually the remnants of a bomb cyclone that has been pestering the Pacific Northwest for several days now. It's much weaker and it's going to drift across the state here over the next 24 hours, and that will have an impact on us. As you look at the weather impact headlines here, mountain snow, light accumulation, 2 to 10 inches expected here. Probably start snowing early tomorrow morning and last throughout the day in some parts. Front range impact here. We're looking at some isolated and very light showers Sunday night into Monday morning. Not a big impact with this system here, but what we're watching is Wednesday for the bigger potential, because that system, which happens to be another storm system from the Pacific Northwest, could mix with some cooler air, and that could bring us a little bit more snow accumulation here in the Denver area and parts of the other areas around us. I'll talk about that coming up in the full forecast.
Corey, thank you. Want to welcome our viewers who turned off the other channel in rage from the CU football game. Time to check in on the score on that. Maybe we shouldn't. We know our audience. Buffs lose big, 37-21 at Kansas. Buffs needed a big win tonight to try and make it to the Big 12 championship game. That did not happen. So we're just going to move on to the next story. We'll have a full breakdown coming up later in sports.